The bus always arrived at 11:47 p.m. For years, no one questioned it. It didn't matter if anyone was waiting at the stop or not. It didn't matter if the streets were empty or if the weather made travel nearly impossible. At exactly the same time every night, the Old City bus would roll down Ashford Street. It would slow to a stop beneath the flickering streetlight and open its doors with a quiet hiss. Then it would wait. Most people in the neighborhood ignored it. Some had grown used to it, while others simply chose not to think about it. There were stories, of course, whispers passed between neighbors, half-serious warnings told to newcomers, but nothing anyone could prove. Officially, that route had been shut down years ago after a late-night accident that no one liked to talk about. Daniel hadn't believed any of it. He had only moved into the area a few weeks earlier, and the first time he saw the bus, he assumed it was just part of the city's inconsistent scheduling. But as the nights passed and the pattern never changed, curiosity began to take hold. Every evening at 11:47, without fail, the bus appeared, and every night it waited. At first, Daniel watched from his apartment window. The bus looked older than the others he'd seen around the city, its paint slightly faded, its headlights dimmer than they should have been. Sometimes he thought he could see shapes moving inside, but the tinted windows made it impossible to be sure. Then, one night, he decided to get a closer look. The air was cold as he stepped outside, the quiet of the street settling around him as he approached the bus stop. The streetlight above flickered weakly, casting uneven shadows across the pavement. As he got closer, the bus came into view at the far end of the road, just as it always did, right on time. It moved slowly, almost deliberately, before coming to a stop in front of him. The doors opened with a soft, mechanical sound, revealing the dim interior. For a moment, Daniel hesitated, his instincts telling him to stay where he was. But curiosity pushed him forward. He stepped inside. The first thing he noticed was how quiet it was. Not just empty, but unnaturally still, as though sound itself had been dulled. The seats were worn, but clean, and the overhead lights flickered faintly, casting a pale glow across the aisle. There were passengers, at least it looked that way. Figures sat scattered throughout the bus, each one completely still. Their faces were turned forward, their bodies rigid as though frozen in place. Daniel moved slowly down the aisle, his eyes scanning the rows, waiting for someone to react to his presence. No one did. He felt a growing sense of unease as he took a seat near the middle, glancing around again to make sure he wasn't imagining things. The bus remained silent, the passengers unmoving, their stillness becoming more unsettling the longer he looked at them. Then the doors closed. The sound made him flinch slightly, and a moment later, the bus began to move. Daniel leaned back in his seat, his gaze drifting toward the window. The street outside looked normal at first, the familiar buildings passing by at a steady pace, but after a few moments, something began to feel off. The road wasn't right, the turns didn't match the layout he knew, and the streetlights outside grew fewer and farther between. The city seemed to fade, replaced by long stretches of empty road that didn't belong anywhere near his neighborhood. A quiet tension settled in his chest. He turned back toward the passengers. One of them had moved. It was subtle, almost easy to miss. The figure sitting a few rows ahead now had its head slightly tilted. It was angled just enough to suggest it was not facing forward anymore. It was facing him. Daniel's breath caught as he stared at it, waiting to see if it would move again. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the head turned further, revealing a face that felt wrong in a way he could not explain. The eyes were open, but unfocused. The expression was blank. And yet, it was looking directly at him. Daniel quickly looked away, his pulse quickening as he tried to steady himself. This was not normal. None of this was normal. He needed to get off the bus. He stood up, gripping the nearest seat for balance as he made his way toward the front. The driver hadn't spoken since he boarded, hadn't even acknowledged him. As Daniel got closer, he realized why. The driver wasn't moving. His hands rested on the wheel, his posture fixed, his face barely visible beneath the dim light. For a brief second, Daniel thought he might just be focused on the road. Then he noticed the reflection in the windshield. The driver's eyes were closed. Daniel stopped in his tracks, a cold wave of realization washing over him. The bus was moving, but no one was driving it. Behind him, something shifted. A faint sound broke the silence, followed by another. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to make him turn slightly. The passengers were no longer completely still. One by one, their heads began to turn, all of them, slowly, deliberately, until every single face was pointed directly at him. Daniel's chest tightened as he backed away, his mind racing for a way out. The bus didn't slow down. It didn't stop. The road outside had become something else entirely. Dark, endless, with no signs of the city anywhere in sight. Then, in unison, the passengers stood. The movement was synchronized, unnatural, as though they were responding to the same silent signal. They didn't rush toward him. They didn't speak. They just watched. Daniel turned toward the door, his hand reaching for the emergency lever, but before he could pull it, a voice filled the bus. It was calm, flat, and impossibly close. It told him he shouldn't have boarded. Daniel froze as the words settled in. The voice didn't come from the driver. It didn't come from any single passenger. It came from everywhere. The bus began to slow. Relief flickered briefly in his chest as it rolled to a stop, the doors opening with the same quiet hiss as before. Outside, there was no street, no buildings, no light, only darkness stretching out in every direction. Daniel hesitated. Behind him, the passengers took a single step forward. That was enough. He jumped off the bus. The moment his feet hit the ground, the doors slammed shut behind him. The bus didn't wait this time. It pulled away immediately, disappearing into the darkness as quickly as it had arrived. Silence followed. Daniel stood there, his breathing uneven as he turned in a slow circle. There was nothing around him. No road, no buildings, nothing familiar at all. Just darkness. Then, in the distance, he heard it again, the sound of a bus approaching. Its mythic murmurs.